Welcome to Quick Course Digest. Today we're jumping into a topic that's absolutely critical for success in any field: organizational communication. You know, it's one thing to just be present in a room, but it's another thing entirely to really have an impact. And that's what we're going to break down: how you go from just being there to truly leading the conversation.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the foundation: how you command a room without saying a single word. Then we'll build on that, talking about how to actually craft a message that sticks. After that, we'll get into designing visuals that help, not hurt. And we'll see how it all comes together under pressure with a look at crisis leadership, before we wrap it all up with the key things you need to remember.
All right, first things first, nonverbal presence. This is huge, because the reality is your message starts the second people see you. Long before you say hello, you're already communicating. So let's make sure your body is saying exactly what you want it to.
Seriously, take a second and think about this. When you walk into a room, what's your go-to stance? What are you telling people? Are you projecting confidence and control, or are you accidentally signaling that you're nervous or unsure? This is so much more than just looking good. It's about establishing your credibility right from the get-go.
Just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got all these little movements, the swaying, the shuffling, that just scream insecurity. But on the right, a grounded, stable stance. It projects immediate confidence. It's about owning your space. And here's the cool part. Standing like this doesn't just look confident to other people, it actually sends a signal to your own brain to feel more centered and in control.
The hands. What do we do with our hands, right? It's so easy to look closed off or anxious by shoving them in our pockets or wringing them. The key is to stay open. A great tip is to have a home base for your hands right around your belt line. From there, you can gesture naturally, from your core, in a way that actually emphasizes what you're saying instead of distracting from it.
Okay, now here's a secret weapon. It's so simple but incredibly powerful: the pause and nod. The next time you make a really important point, just stop talking for a beat. Pause and give a slight nod. It's amazing. It gives your audience a second to really digest what you said, and it non-verbally invites them to agree with you. You'll be surprised how many people start nodding right back.
So, we've got our physical presence locked in. Now we need to focus on the actual architecture of our message. Because look, a confident delivery is fantastic, but if the ideas themselves are a mess, it all falls apart. Having a clear structure is one of the best ways to show respect for your audience's time and attention.
You've probably heard this classic piece of advice before, and for good reason. It works. Now, this isn't about being boringly repetitive. It's about giving your audience a roadmap. First, you show them the map. Then you take them on the journey, and at the end you remind them of the amazing destination you reached together. It just makes your message so much easier to follow and remember.
So let's break that formula down. It all starts with the grabber. You have got to hook them in that very first sentence to earn their attention. Then comes the thesis, your one big idea, stated clearly so everyone knows exactly where you stand. The body is where you build your case, point by point. And finally, the closing, which is your last chance to make a powerful, lasting impression.
Let's talk about that hook for a second, because that first minute is everything. You can't just ease into it. You have to grab their attention right away. You could do it with a short, compelling story, or maybe a question that makes them think. A shocking statistic works wonders. Even a surprising confession can pull everyone in. Whatever you choose, make it count.
And you know, how you end is just as crucial as how you begin. Your closing needs to be rock solid and memorable. Bring it all back to your main point and leave them with a powerful final thought. Here's a pro tip. Memorize your last 2 or 3 sentences cold. That way, you can deliver them with total conviction, looking right at your audience, and end with a bang. Okay, your message is structured and ready to go. Let's talk visuals. Slides, they can be your best friend, or they can be your absolute worst enemy. The whole point is to make them a visual aid. Something that makes your points clearer and more impactful, not a visual distraction that competes with you for attention.
When it comes to slide design, simplicity is king. I love this quote from communications guru Nancy Duarte. The moment you put too many words on a slide, it stops being a visual aid. It's just a teleprompter. And what does your audience do? They start reading. And when they're reading, they are not listening to you.
So let's keep it simple. Here are 3 rules to live by. First, 1 idea per slide. That's it. Second, think of your slides like billboards on the highway. Your audience should be able to get the point in a quick glance and then immediately turn their attention back to you. And third, keep your design consistent. Same colors, same fonts. It just looks clean and professional. And here is a very practical, non-negotiable rule. Your font size should never, ever be smaller than 18 points. Period. If the people sitting in the back of the room are squinting to read your slides, you've failed them. It's really a matter of respect for everyone you're speaking to.
Now, want to know a real power move? Sometimes the most effective slide is no slide at all. Deliberately using a blank or a black slide is a fantastic technique. It breaks the pattern. All of a sudden, the screen is gone and every single eye in the room snaps back to you. It's a great way to signal that what you're about to say next is really, really important.
So, we have presence, we have a message, we have our visuals. Let's put it all to the ultimate test, communicating in a crisis. This is where communication goes from being important to being absolutely everything. It's where a leader's ability to be clear, credible, and human is tested in real time under the most intense pressure imaginable.
Let's look at President George W. Bush on September 11th. This timeline just shows the unbelievable pressure he was under. He had to deliver critical communications all day long, and each one was for a different audience, in a different setting, and required a completely different tone. It was an incredible challenge. This is fascinating. These are the president's actual handwritten notes for that very first statement he made. This is what communication looks like when it's stripped down to its absolute core. There's no time for fancy words or perfect sentences, just the raw, urgent need to project strength and calm to a nation in shock.
And then there was this moment at ground zero. This just shows the raw power of authentic communication. Standing on a pile of rubble with a bullhorn, President Bush delivered this line completely off the cuff. It was simple, it was direct, and it was exactly what those first responders and the entire country needed to hear. It wasn't about a perfect speech, it was about presence, connection, and resolve.
So, after walking through all of that, what are the big lessons here? Let's boil this all down into a few key takeaways you can use, whether you're leading a team meeting or facing your own high-stakes moment.
It really comes down to this simple framework we've built. It all starts with your nonverbal presence. That's the foundation of your credibility. You build on top of that with a message that's clear and well-structured. You use visuals to amplify that message, not to compete with it, and when you bring all of those pieces together, that's when you have the tools for real leadership.
Look, these aren't just tips for giving a good presentation. These are the fundamental tools of influence and impact. In any career, in any situation, the ability to communicate your ideas clearly and powerfully is a genuine superpower. So the only question left is, how are you going to use it?